Hello, it is Friday, November 8th, 2019. Live from Indianapolis, Indiana. Didn't want the boys to scream because I'm not sure my voice could handle it. It's a feel-good Friday. Just took a baseball bat to the face with the boys. Slept for about 3 hours. Got Temple USF to chat about last night with one of the most hilarious endings in situational football awareness history. I was actually laughing on the broadcast. I've seen some things now with college football that I never expected to see. Last night, down 10, only 2 scores. Your quarterback has thrown a couple completions down the field. Inside your own 10, I guess, so that is a far trip you have to take. No timeouts. Turnover on downs. Ran out of bounds. Tick, tick, tick. Went to bed with 2 timeouts, USF, and lost the game. I have no clue how that happens, but I'm here for it. I am here for that type of stuff. Back whenever the Mad Hatter was down in LSU, that type of stuff was happening like once a week. Now he's turning Kansas around a little bit, I guess. They're winning games, so that means it's a big turnaround. But college football coaches handling time management, that should be its own segment of like ESPN football. Like they should have a show about that, like time management in college football. It's unbelievable, the situational stuff. But you're also dealing with a lot of young guys who maybe can't learn as much as you would think they would want to learn. I was cackling on the broadcast. That was awesome. I mean, that's really late. I was pretty tired, and I started seeing these things start adding up. And I'm trying to be as professional as possible because USF staff was very nice to us, very, very nice, very hospitable. But sometimes I just think they're playing a different sport than I play.
When you dropped, it's a bold strategy, Con. Hope it pays off. I could not handle myself.
So Joey, Joey, the stats guy that's in there.
Yeah.
While we were walking out, he was like, "Oh man," because he slips us notes like little stats and stuff. He wanted our pets' heads are falling. We got 2 timeouts. We're down 2 scores. We got a quarterback can throw.
We're not taking timeouts.
We're not using timeouts. We're not using our quarterback that can throw. Our pets' heads are falling off. What a joke of a broadcast. And then as soon as that thing ended, we had a chance to flip over and watch the other one. And by the way, didn't have the real hammer, was just a metaphorical hammer.
Right.
But by the way, Chargers should have won that game. Instead, though, Raiders with a big win at home with 2 terrible opponents coming up. They could be 7-4 here really soon and in the conversation for the AFC. Good for Gruden. Good for Derek Carr, by the way. Great for Derek Carr. Derek Carr last year, it was being talked about whether or not Gruden hated his soul or not. Whether or not Gruden, who came back to coach for $100 million, was dealt a quarterback that he absolutely despised. There was moments last year, remember, they were making up that Derek Carr was crying on the field and that Gruden was telling people he couldn't win with him. Couldn't stand a guy crying on the field. Derek Carr was written all but off of that Raiders team. Gone. A couple years ago, he's an MVP candidate until Trent Cole made an incredible sack on him and tore his knee up in the last game of the season on Christmas Eve in the black hole whenever a 4th down fake field goal run by the holder was snuffed out by the middle linebacker, and he ended up getting both of his legs taken out from underneath him while hitting a spin move. That was me. I fumbled on that play. But Derek Carr has been through it now. Let alone Jonathan Abraham making fun of how much money he makes on Hard Knocks and having to deal with the Antonio Brown saga and everything like that. Us even talking about how he's not a quarterback that he once was. And then now he's leading that team with Hunter Renfrow as a weapon.
Love him.
Why is that, Doug?
Just tough little white guy. Probably shouldn't be in the league. And then they're making catches.
That is something that Mike Mayock said he watched the Clemson practice, saw him, talked to Dabo, and Dabo, remember, said Deshaun Watson was Michael Jordan. Nobody believed him. Now Deshaun Watson's kind of becoming that. So Mike Mayock was like, I've learned. Listen, what do you think of this little white kid out here? He's like, oh, hard worker, good guy. Mike Mayock's like, good, he's coming to Oakland. By the way, shout out to Mike Mayock, too. Rich Eisen show, I think he's interviewing him today because he and Rich used to do a lot together, shows, games, everything like that, draft coverage. And 3 of his rookies that he drafted are performing in a big-time way for them. Mike Mayock is having success in there from TV. John Lynch is having success in there from TV. You wonder if these guys that are on TV are only doing TV strictly to get their name out there so they can do a lot more research, get paid for it still, because when you're working at ESPN, you're in NFL Network, you're getting paid to watch film. So these guys get a chance to get paid to watch film, get notoriety, and then become a GM. Look out for McAfee 2024.
I think when you do the TV, you get that like 10,000-foot view of everything, and you're out of the league, so you kind of see things differently. I think it helps them.
Well, and you're paid to listen to interviews.
Yeah.
So whenever you I pick up a lot from interviews. Nobody's really in our office much, but if there's something I'm intrigued by and there's an interview happening, I will stop everything that's happening to listen to that interview because you can learn a lot from what people are saying. They're either covering something up or they're giving away conversations that have been happening inside the locker room, right? Because I've gotten a chance to obviously see both sides now from being in a locker room, and then I never did press. I never did press conferences, never had to talk to media, but all my friends had to. So whenever I would listen to them talk, I'm like, oh, they're dropping in little things that have been said from the coach while mixing in some disguise there to not give a lot away. So I think you can learn a lot if you listen. You just have to know what you're listening to. And, I think that TV, you get paid to listen to those. So you're learning a lot about people. You're interviewing a lot of people. You're watching film. Your name is growing. Mike Mayock was a guy that everybody knew about. I mean, that's just a good idea. That's just a good idea. You know who else should be considered for whatever he wants to do? Hasselbeck.
Oh,
Bro,
Mr. Hasselbeck.
you should hear him in these production meetings, man. There's a lot of times, I mean, I do a lot of research for those Thursday night games. We all know that.
Yeah, of course.
Like nonstop, some would say.
Just thumbing through pages all day, every day.
I'm reading the program.
Yep.
I'm looking at their biggest donor, their biggest bar on campus, how their student section is going to perform, the band. I'm digging deep into the annals. But whenever you start listening to Hasselbeck break down their strategy, scheme, and personnel, I sit there and I'm like, damn, man. And then we don't use any of it because the game's only so long. So it's like, I feel like that's the difference is Matt does all this research, all this incredible homework because that's what quarterbacks have to do, right? They literally have to know everything. And I think Matt takes that approach to what he does now. So that's probably a gift and a curse if I had to guess because he's probably tortured by his own need to do that, right? So he's probably spends all day in the film, which I respect and I appreciate now. But listening to him talk about basically every player in his production things, about what he does right, what he doesn't do right, what he does good, what he doesn't do good, what he'll do on Sundays, what he won't be able to do on Sundays. He has a full report on everybody on the team, and I'm just like, damn, where did you find time to do that? But I think he's a guy that whenever he wants to go do whatever he wants to do, and I've not talked to him because I assume he's going to continue doing the media thing because I think he's getting good. Like, I think he's getting more comfortable. And I don't want to say it's because of us, but I think he is getting much more comfortable with us, which is good news for Matt because he has a good personality when he gets going. But if he was to ever get into that role, I don't know if he's going to, but a lot of TV people with big brains do. Look at Gruden. Gruden's even having success.
Yeah.
I mean, with Mayock, two TV guys. Like, yeah, come on. That's wild. Very wild. But whatever Matt goes and does, I think he'll do very well. And I assume there's plenty of other people on ESPN and NFL Network and Fox that could do that. But let's not get it twisted. A lot of dummies talking into microphones too. So that's a few and far between thing. Every time I watch one of those games though, I think, we're going to get rich here. I'm going to get an island. I'm going to disappear for like 5 years. I'm going to come back. There's going to be like a startup D1 football program. And I'm going to become head coach. We're going to be running the business side of it. I'm going to hire my smart football friends to run offense and defense. And I think I could be a college head coach tomorrow if I had to be. Just watching this stuff, I'm like, not a great one. I mean, let's not get crazy. I'm not going to be a great one.
Bowl eligible.
I can get us to a bowl. I can get us
6-6, man.
I can get us to an extra set of practices, I think.
I mean, Kingsbury 6-6.
You know who I really enjoyed? That Temple head coach and that coaching staff. Those are our type of guys. Now, granted, a lot of coaches have been because a lot of football guys, blue-collar guys, working class guys. But those Temple guys, I mean, Coach Carey had a chaw dog right before we walked in there. Had a lipper in. I love this guy. I absolutely love this guy. And they had been on a bit of an ass-beating tour their last two games. They got beat by like 66 combined points. Then they had a bye week. And I'm assuming he didn't want to talk to us. And I let off. I let off pretty early with it. And I was just like, yeah, so what the hell happened, man? He was like, we're banged up, man. We're beat to hell, And nobody ever wants to make that as an excuse. But whenever your big-time players are banged up and they're not at full go, I mean, that's tough. We had a little bit of a wake-up moment, And I was just like, oh, I like this guy. Like, that was a real answer, a genuine answer, as opposed to like well, injuries are never an excuse. But we worked very hard this week, and we hope our best performance will come. It's like, get that.
They have some monsters on that defense.
Temple?
Yes.
Hey, they got some specimens on that team now, and they all warm up shirtless before the game. Down there in Tampa, pretty humid. I thought I was watching some there was like a bodybuilding show happening on the field. They were built. I think in a couple years they're going to be very good. I like that Coach Gary guy. I like him a lot. Phillip Rivers, everybody's saying he's dead. Done for. Hurt. He's been driving to work for 3 hours, 2 years. That's going to take a toll, and it's like sitting coach. You know what I mean? It's like sitting when you got to just sit in a tight quarters and incredibly uncomfortable, driving back and forth for practice in the home, and let alone when you get home, 75 kids. I mean, Phillip Rivers has been living a hard life the last couple of years. A hard life. Imagine sitting in traffic, how upset you get. Ugh. He does it every day for 3 hours in Southern California. Everybody's like, oh, he looks like he's hurt. It's like, yeah, what, physically or mentally?
It's all cramped up in that minivan.
The guy's in a minivan. He probably has like the nicest sprinter ever. He's probably got a bed back there.
Sure.
It's probably a movie theater. He probably gets 3 hours off every day. That's
Away from his kids.
Away
It's probably why he's doing the drive.
I thought Chargers were going to win last night, though. They got Melvin Gordon ball 22 times. That's a lot of touches. Joey, the stats guy, he knows everything about football. It's very impressive. He was the one that said yesterday, he was like, Melvin Gordon's coming out of training camp mode. And then I thought back to that Chris Johnson conversation where Chris Johnson was like, whenever he sat out, he didn't get back into the flow of the game for a while. Le'Veon Bell, when he sat out, both with the Steelers and then with the Jets, he didn't get back into the flow of things because game reps are much different than, high school sprint reps. Melvin Gordon said he's never going to miss training camp again. So I thought they treated it like a training camp for him, and now he's coming out of it. And I thought after that big win against the Packers, by the way, that Packers loss, tie.
No, I know. That's what I was telling Foxy last night. Like, how does this even happen? The Packers beat the absolute piss out of the Raiders, and then
The whole league's
get embarrassed.
It's a joke.
That's why you don't bet on it.
It makes no sense.
Speaking of betting on it, but that Raiders team, big time win, man.
Yeah.
And when they needed to stop, they got to stop there at the end. That's big. Whenever your team needs something to happen and they can step up and do it, that's why whenever they can say a quarterback, you gave him too much time, that's because they need to make a play, right? They need to make a drive. So on the defensive side, even if it's against a struggling Phillip Rivers Rivers has been in the league a long time. You know how you're in the league a long time? You're good.
Yeah.
So against a good quarterback who, at the end of the game, could have turned it on hypothetically. He didn't, but he could have turned it on hypothetically. They made a big-time stop. And that's got to say a lot for old Raider Nation out there.
And the Raiders they went through a period of their schedule where they had 5 straight away games. They were away from home for 45 days. They already got that out of the way.
Phillip Rivers, though, combined his driving time. He's been away from his house.
Have you seen this thing?
Yeah.
The Sprinter van?
No, is it awesome?
Oh, my God.
Zito just did some deep diving on the...
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. He's pretty okay.
Him and Mr. Irsay just...
He's got a picture of himself sitting right in front of him, though. That's an interesting situation there.
Well, it's a TV screen
Okay. All right.
for film.
It's pretty comfortable.
Hey,
That
good.
is a luxury.
Yeah.
Hey,
machine.
everything I just said was a lie. I mean, it is a... What's the 10 for? What's the number 10?
I don't know.
How many kids he has?
Oh, there he goes. Yeah. Which kid could be there?
Sorry,
today?
if you're listening on radio and you can't watch what's happening, we are watching we're looking at the back of his Sprinter van. There are 2 master recliners in the back of this thing. One has 17 in the headrest, and the other one has 10 in the headrest, 17, 10. We can't be able to figure that out. I'm sure somebody on the internet will be able to. And he has a movie theater back there, and it's built as if it's like a meditation room almost, but with a tan interior. I mean, it just looks the most comfortable thing I've ever seen. Butterfly doors too. It potentially looks like he has.
Are you sure that's a Sprinter van? It looks like
It's
an
actually-
18-wheeler.
I know. Look how big
It's
it is.
actually like
Hey.
a Navigator or something.
Hey, why does he have a box truck?
Oh.
We'll pitch that to Phillip Rivers if he ever comes on the show. Didn't look good for him last night on that last drive. Hope he kind of figures it out.
Oh,
What's up, dude?
it was the backups number.
Oh, he carpooled at the backup.
Giving him a ride?
What? What did you just say?
Number 10 is the backups number.
Bro, Phillip Rivers.
What a guy.
Giving a headrest to a guy that's going to get cut.
Come on. Come on.
Hey, man, you get to sit in the back of a box truck have your own number in the headrest. Will you just drive with me every day for 3 hours?
Kellen Clemens is who it was.
Even though like the back has like 80 different headrests, like the next person comes in, they just put them in.
All right, who's the new backup? What number is he going to wear? 8. All right. What's Geno Smith wearing? It's 10-16. We'll be back with Michael Lombardi on the other side. He and I had a terrible gambling weekend last weekend. We won't bring it up. We won't bring it up.
It's a new week.
We won't even bring it up. I have faith Lombardi will bounce back. He's an Italian. Or does he go into a slide for the rest of the year? We'll find out. Stick with us. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. It is Friday, November 8th already. Damn. You know, I never had a profession where I keep track of the date every day. This is one of those things. I mean, time steamrolls right on by.
Yeah.
I mean, it's November 8th already. Get ready for Thanksgiving. Last night we had an ad read for Butterball. I was so excited. It's almost turkey season. It's almost stuffing season.
Oh, yeah.
Which everybody should be excited about. I talked about it yesterday. I started drooling. You almost heard me just drooling the mic there for stuffing. It's just my favorite thing on earth.
Turkey or ham?
If you give me the leg of a turkey,
yeah.
I'll go with turkey leg.
yeah.
But ham all day over the white meat of turkey.
Good spiral
All
ham.
day, any day, by the way. I think I like the greasy meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's my go-to. Not the healthiest.
It's moist, though.
Yeah, it still does the trick with the nap thing, and it tastes good, and you feel like a caveman when you're eating that damn thing right off the bone. You know what I mean? And when you walk up to the thing and you rip it off, oh, what a moment there at the thing. So, it's a real alpha move at the family, you know what I mean?
Can you just take tryptophan through a pill or something?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, because that's a good feeling, that turkey nap.
It is, isn't it? I kind of wish, yeah.
I think you gotta use a
You have to
turkey
extract
baster.
it through the gizzard. You have to milk it like a cow.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah. Anyways, notable news with Nick, please.
All right. Heisman favorite Chase Young will not play this weekend due to an NCAA issue from 2018.
Okay, a lot of questions around what happened to Chris Carter. We have an answer for what happened with Chase Young. This is a direct quote from Chase Young. Unfortunately, I won't be playing this week because of an NCAA eligibility issue. Period. Double space. Makes me wonder if Chase Young typed this up or not.
Oh.
Chase Young's a little bit young to be doing a double space after that period.
Agreed.
Well, he is in college writing papers, so he knows to do the double space to
They
get
still
more.
expect you to do that in college?
Well, no, just to get more. So if you have a 2-page paper, you double space.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. 100% right. Just find it interesting, though, because I don't know if they even teach anymore. Fox, were you taught to do 2 spaces after a period? His microphone's off because we're calling a guy in the back.
I don't think it's taught anymore.
It definitely wasn't when I was in school.
Really? Okay, so
Or maybe it was, but I just never did it.
all right. So 2 spaces after the period there. I made a mistake last year by accepting a loan from a family friend I've known since the summer before my freshman year at Ohio State University. I repaid it in full last summer, and I'm working with the university and NCAA to get back on the field as soon as possible, period, double space. I want to thank my family, teammates, coaches, and the whole Ohio State community for all the love and support. God bless and go Bucks. He's got no shot. This is what the NCAA lives for. Right now, the university is investigating it, hoping that they can punish him enough that the NCAA says, okay, Ohio State took care of it enough. This is the best player in football. He saw Bosa succeed by sitting out his senior year. This guy's proven enough. I assume him and Ohio State will come to an agreement where they'll be like, hey, you're just suspended for the rest of the year. Sound good? Yep, I'm going to go train. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go to the NFL. This stinks for college football because this kid was a lightning rod on a football field, a game disruptor, a game wrecker, a game ender. Best player on defense in college football, and they also had the best quarterback on offense, says people that know stuff in Justin Fields. Does this change the Ohio State team? I think so.
Yeah.
Hey, you know who this looks good for? Obviously Penn State, who was voted in the college football playoff committee's top 4 already. Also Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
PJ Fleck, if he can get by Penn State this weekend, Sky U Mall, row the boat. Did another microphone just turn on? Sounded
Sure
like
sounds like it.
Sure sounded like another microphone just turning on. And if Minnesota can get past Penn State, then they can potentially get by Ohio State now, who doesn't have the best defensive player on the year.
How about Ohio State 2 years in a row? Bosa just like 3 games in, stops playing, and now Chase Young, when they're about to make a run, stops playing.
Well, it's very convenient at the highest his stock could possibly be. They find this minor violation from last year.
Minor. We don't know how big that loan was. And by the way, how did he pay it back?
Good
Yeah.
question.
That's the interesting.
I think
part.
it's just
He's
a
got
way
pretty
to
good
have him
paper out.
sit out without having to face the
What'd you say?
backlash.
He's got pretty
Bosa
good
got.
paper out. A lot of customers. Fast bike.
All right. Well, it's going to be interesting. This will not change his NFL draft stock one bit, by the way. The NFL gives 0 damns about a loan he got from somebody who probably wasn't a family friend that he met the summer before his freshman
Right.
year. But, hey, Chase Young, probably, I don't know why he would lie. Let's say it is a family friend, but even if it's not, the NFL doesn't give a single damn about that. Oh, we're we're about a much more higher morale or moral team. It's like, but the NCAA kind of questionable morals anyways.
For sure.
Yeah. Anyways, joining us now, a man who would have had to make that decision at one point for the Cleveland Browns. A man who's been around, has a couple Super Bowls, and right now he won't FaceTime us, even though he's about to be in his speaking engagement, which I think would give us the best background to date with you. Big-time Paisan, gambler, smart man, Mr. Michael Lombardi.
Hello, Pat. How are you? I wish I could. I'm in a car. I'm in a cab trying to get to Wharton. A little traffic in Philadelphia. I don't have quite the private plane status that you have. I saw that this week on your journeys that you were traveling the United States. I mean, I think you go better than Bernie Sanders goes. Seriously, you have it much better.
What an interesting reference right there, Bernie Sanders.
I thought that would catch you.
It did. Where are you headed to? You're going to speak where?
I'm going to speak at the University of Pennsylvania, the Wharton School of Business. They have a group of young students that hold a summit every year, and they invite people from all over. And there's some incredible people that teach at Penn. You've got Adam Grant, that's a teacher here at Penn, who's written a zillion really good books. Yeah. And then Annie Dukes wrote a book called Thinking in Bets, and she's the great poker player, and she also teaches here too. And so it's kind of a great convention. It works really well, and it's fun to do, and maybe it'll sell 5 books if I can. So I'm trying to pay for my grandchildren's college education. So that's what the goal is. So I do these things.
I respect the hell out of that. What's the message? You're just talking to a bunch of business school kids about gambling?
No. I'm going to talk about I talk about the book. I talk about Gridiron Genius. Talk about the 4 principles of leadership. I talk about really what a good culture looks like and how you have a good culture. I talk about the name on the front of the jersey is way more important than the name on the back. I talk about how to build a team. I talk about teamwork within that. And then to me, which will be my next book, which is called The Secret to All Victory Lies in the Organization of the Non-Obvious, is what's not obvious to people. I mean, most people tend to overlook the obvious, and they focus on things that don't matter. The great coaches, for example, always focus on the non-obvious, and they organize it, and they always have more success than others.
Jeez. I mean, there's a lot to digest there. That was an impressive run. What's the name of the book that you have out right now? I should know this.
The book is called Gridiron Genius. It's really not about me. The book's about Belichick and Walsh and Al Davis, and it's a book about really culture. You know, when you look at the great teams you played on, and you are part of you can build a culture within yourself, and what you've done with Pat McAfee Inc. is the culture. And I think that people don't always understand how to do that. And I think that most NFL teams that lack it, when you look at the teams around the NFL, Bill Walsh told me this in 1984 when you were probably in Plum, Pennsylvania, figuring out everything. He said, we're only competing against 8 teams. And he was right. The league was only 28 teams at that time. And I thought he was talking about the quarterbacks. And what he was talking about was, there's really only 8 teams that have a culture that's conducive to winning. And I think he's completely right today, even though there's 32 teams.
Okay, so I've been a part of a very good culture and a couple very bad cultures. Isn't it mostly revolve around who you bring in and who you bring out? And isn't hiring and who you decide to make a part of your team like the most vital part of everything?
Yeah, it is. But I also think that the owner has to allow the culture. He's got to create an environment where it's the culture. When you look at Belichick's success in Cleveland, people say he wasn't very successful. He really was. The problem was the owner wasn't going to let him build in the culture. When he got to New England, he was allowed to build the culture the way he wanted it. A lot of it comes from the owner. If the owner says, hey, look, here's what I want. Jimmy Haslow's problem in Cleveland is he really will never tell you what he wants. He just expects to win, and you can't ever develop a culture that way. But you're right. You got to find guys that fit. Look, when the Navy SEALs go to bring guys in, right, they bring 125 people to qualify for Navy SEAL training, and only 20 of them make it. They're all qualified, they all fit, but a lot of them can't handle the volume of the work, and that's why they fall apart. They all fit what they can do, but a lot of people can't fit into the culture the right way.
That is, hey, you know what, Mr. Lombardi? Pretty good. Hey, Mr. Lombardi. You can't see us because you won't FaceTime us, but we all just clap for you.
But, no, I appreciate all your support, Pat. I do. I think it's really it's funny because I think players think that culture is something that happens and it just happens all the time, and it happens out of the blue, and and all of a sudden it shows up, and when in reality, culture is something you have to work on. When Belichick shows up to work every single day, he's working on the culture. He's not working on how many more plays, how many more things he's got to do. He's working on how he maintains the culture. And you say, well, how do you bring Antonio Brown in there, and what does he do? Well, what he does is he sees what they can do, how they can handle it, and like Josh Gordon, when they can't, he doesn't make it, and then they get rid of him.
Chris Ballard had $110 million to spend one off season. And I said, hey, Chris, a lot of people are wondering when the hell you're going to spend this money. There's a lot of big names out there. And he said, we have to build the culture first, and then we can bring people in. We have to set our tone in our culture, so when people come in, they can adapt to us as opposed to us adapting to them. And I think that was one of the most brilliant things I've heard from Chris Ballard, and it's paying off for him.
No doubt, and they have a culture, and I think that's what you have to admire about Chris. Chris different than John Dorsey. They both were together in Kansas City. But Chris understands culture more than anybody. And Chris wants to build a team around tough guys that have a good culture, and they can do that. And I think that when you see that, you realize, oh, my God, this is exactly what we need, where some guys like John Dorsey, he keeps bringing in players, and everybody talks about how talented the team is, when in reality the team has talent, but they don't have a team. They have individual talent. They don't have a team of collective players, and everybody's worried about what shoes I'm going to wear this week, and, do I get my name on it, and how am I getting the football, as opposed to worrying about how we're going to win this game.
It's a difficult world to live in, by the way, to not think in an incredibly selfish fashion if you have any shine on you at all. It's tough. There's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of people pulling at you. And the people that can get players to all buy into one common goal, that's next level type coaching and leadership. I can't wait to read your book. I've never read a book before. So me saying that.
I tell you what you do. What you need to do is just buy it on tape when you're on your campaign tour. And I see you keep collecting jobs left and right, and you deserve them. You should just put it in your iPod, put it in your phone, and listen to it. That's what I do. When I walk my dogs every day, I listen to books, and it's the best way to kind of take your time and learn something. And then when you hear something you like, you always end up buying the book and underline it. So it's a good way to kind of keep yourself in tune.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. What do you think the XFL, by the way? A lot of the alternative leagues, and I assume that's what you're referring to, and I appreciate the congratulations there. I have no idea if I'm going to love it or hate it. I think it's going to be unprecedented access, which it could go one way or another. I'm excited for it. I have a couple questions, though, on the chance of another league succeeding, especially after the Alliance didn't do well, the UFL didn't do well. I mean, the CFL has done well, but it doesn't really feel like there's been a history of success. How does the XFL have success?
Well, because I think they have one owner, right? So they've got Vince McMahon, and they don't have to worry about who's paying the bills. He's in this for the long haul. I mean, he's in this he understands that the NFL ratings have gone up 6% this year, and it's because of gambling. He understands that on Tuesday night of this week, when the NBA opened up, when college basketball was opening, when hockey was going on, the most bet game was Toledo and I think Kent State. They played on Tuesday night. The MAC did. That game was the most bet game of any. He understands that football is attractive because of betting, and he's going to give you a platform to bet on, and people will bet regardless. And as long as there's uniforms out there, he sees it. He's going to have a betting device on everybody's phone to bet the XFL. He owns the league, so he doesn't have to worry about making payroll. He's invested in this, and it's a long play. It's not a short play. So I think he's given this a lot of thought. I think he understands the dynamics. He's not as worried about people being in the seats as he's worried about people betting on the games, which will stir more interest in the games. And I think that's how you drive it. I think this is a visionary type man who sees around the corner 2 or 3 places more than most people do.
Okay, let's go. Hey, that's good news. I mean, that's good news. That's very good news. I'm excited to hear that. Speaking of gambling, before you go and speak to some of the most intelligent young humans on planet Earth, can you give us some intelligent locks? We won't talk about last week. I had a bad week as well. I think everybody did. We'll just move forward. We'll turn the page.
We got messed up in that Indianapolis game. I mean, I was 1-3 last week. I love the Cowboys, but the other 3, if somebody would have told me that Aaron Rodgers was going to have a lower quarterback rating than Mitchell Trubisky, then I would have said you're crazy, right? But I didn't realize that the Packers players were going to go out the night before in Los Angeles and behave like they've never been out before. And so that resulted in a bad day. But I like this week. I really, to be honest with you, I'm going to go against the grain here. I think Detroit's defense is really acceptable. And this is the kind of games that last year Trubisky played well in. He's not going to get a lot of pressure, and I think I would lay the 2.5 and think Chicago's defense is going to play well at home and win the game by more than a field goal.
Oh, my. You just caused quite a firestorm in this room. We have a diehard Lions fan and a diehard Bears fan that's been taking a lot this year, and the Lions fan has been getting pounded for his entire life for how the Lions are. Matt Stafford's on pace to throw maybe 17,000 yards this year, and they just have a losing record. And now you're saying the Bears, a team that looks completely lost, you can lay the 2.5 points they're going to cover?
I like that game. I do. I like the Bears there. I think the Bears will play better this week. I really like the Cowboys again this week against Minnesota with Kirk Cousins playing indoors without Adam Thielen. I think that the Cowboys' defensive line is really good with Michael Bennett's addition. I think that they'll be able to take this game over. I think the Vikings secondary is very susceptible, and I think as your Lions fan would know, the Lions had a chance and they moved the ball quickly on the Vikings in that game. I think the Cowboys will do that. I think Seattle's will keep the game close in San Francisco. I think 6.5 is a lot of points to give Russell Wilson the way he's playing this year. I think that's enough one. And then my upset special of the week, I think I would take the 5.5 and watch the Tennessee Titans try to play against the Chiefs, whether they have Mahomes or not. I think they'll run the ball on Kansas City. I think they'll keep that a close game.
Okay, so we got Titans, Seattle, Cowboys, and Bears. You got a speech to give. You just rallied the troops. Gridiron Genius. Is that accurate?
That's it.
I can't wait to read it, listen to it, whatever it may be. Ladies and gentlemen, with his weekly report, the gambling man from Jersey, Mr. Michael Lombardi. Thank you, Mr. Lombardi.
Thank you, Pat. Thanks, sir. Bye-bye.
See you. Good luck. Hey, our culture is pretty difficult. Our culture is pretty good. What's up?
Great culture.
Yeah, we won the first hour.
We only got one in the second hour.
My mistake. There were supposed to be 2.
Supposed to read an ad. We'll get that on the other side of the break, I assume. Culture is a big deal.
It is.
Oh, yeah. That's why when Bruce Allen says, our culture is actually pretty good, that's quite an eye-opening statement to a lot of people who have been around the foosball. We had a Navy SEAL come and speak to us at the Colts. He said it's about building your tribe. There's family, there's cliques, there's friends, and then there's a tribe where everybody has a job to do for them to survive, basically. And I think that goes hand in hand with the culture. It's a big deal. Good teams have it, bad teams don't. Because when you're on a bad team, everybody kind of breaks into their own little clique. They start complaining about what's happening. Well, if they were to play me more, we would win. Yeah, and if they'd stop calling this play and get me the ball more, we would win. And boo, 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 boo. And then this team's over here like, man, I'm getting killed out there because you're not helping me too much. Boo, boo, boo. And then this team is like, man, these coaches stink. And then everybody kind of breaks in their own little cliques. And all of a sudden it becomes high school in the locker room. And then they get together for practice, and then everybody splits apart. And then they get together and they split apart. Now, granted, success can help you build a culture, obviously. I mean, when you're winning, that helps. But boy, when that culture's gone, you're in a bad spot. I would point at the Colts being 1-5 or 1-6 and then making that run. That's a good culture. Being able to turn that thing around, not being able to die, that's a big deal. Will the Detroit Lions culture be displayed this weekend as they take on the Bears? Things have not gone well. Matt Stafford's thrown for 95 touchdowns already.
Fade Mr. Lombardi.
Whoa! Hey, that's tight, dude. Whoa, tight. Tight, dude. Somebody said tight yesterday to us. And I was like, man, I haven't heard that forever. So I don't know if you were listening to the show yesterday. We really overreacted. I said tight a couple times. 10:39 Eastern Standard Time, 7:39 Pacific, 9:39 Central. If you're in Europe, I couldn't guess what time it is, but it's 39 minutes after the hour. And you're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. It is 10:45. Just got done talking to Michael Lombardi, who is a GM at a time, a coach, scouting, recruiting, done it all in the football world. Now he talks gambling on the VSiN network on a daily basis.
Oh, Saturdays and Sundays.
And he's selling a book. He's speaking at Penn. Penn's a pretty good school, by the way, from what I've been told.
Yeah, Wharton, I think, is about as good of a business school as you can find.
And he's just in there talking shop about building a culture. Got a chance to coach and scout with Belichick. So if he gets a chance to write a book about Belichick, like we walked outside, Connor's out there, big-time Patriots fan. He was like, hey, that sounds awesome. It's like getting a chance to get a kind of a peek behind closed doors on what makes Bill Belichick and the Patriots such a good culture is probably something you'd want to read if you're a culture builder, a business of some sort. I mean, that's the most successful dynasty in the biggest league on earth. I mean, that's something you'd want to get a peek at. Good for Lombardi hustling out there, by the way, and speaking to the smart young kids.
You think other GMs would read it?
Like who?
Just other GMs.
Go ahead.
You mentioned a couple.
Go ahead.
Cleveland.
Whoa.
Cleveland.
Speaking of,
He did take a shot at Cleveland more than a couple times. Yeah.
Odell Beckham has said that he's in a different place mentally and emotionally, and he thinks people want to see him break. I really doubt you're going to see it.
Well, he's 100% right. And it's not want to. We just expect him to, I think. Like, I don't want to see him. Now, granted, there's probably people who are talking heads who put on makeup and talking to microphones that are hoping that Odell Beckham loses his mind and has a freak out because of what's been going on with the Browns.
That'd be awesome.
See, Nick's one of those guys. He's not wearing makeup, but he would look forward to that. That's probably – but you just have to expect it. And I think maybe the Odell Beckham legacy – is going to get changed through this whole thing. If he handles this, because he is by far a superstar, right? I said that he's like top 2 wide receiver in the league, no matter who you're talking to. In the internet, obviously, there's people like, Odell Beckham is? It's like, come on, guys. Yet Eli couldn't throw the ball 45 yards. And then on this offense with Freddie Kitchens, and now Eli was an incredible quarterback, but we all agree, like towards the end of his career there, he hadn't been able to get it. And then now he's on a team where they can't figure out how to get him the rock, and they said yesterday they have to force feed him the ball. It's like, yeah, that. By the way, you shouldn't say that publicly, but yeah, you should be doing that with a guy who is as elusive, as electric as Odell Beckham is. And by the way, he's doing a lot of good stuff philanthropic-wise off the field. He's giving away a lot of stuff. He seems to be handling this in a very professional manner. It's like, hey, do we have a new Odell Beckham? They're talking about him being gone after the season, though, going somewhere that needs a weapon. And if he continues to act this professional, right, it's almost like he's right now auditioning for another team. Like, hey, look, hey, I can play nice. Hey, listen, all that kicking that stuff. I was young. I was rich. I was young. Things have happened. I've learned from it all. And by the way, if you're not learning from things, really, what are you doing? Sometimes you have to stumble and hit your head very hard to figure out that you shouldn't be stumbling over what you're stumbling over anymore. Odell Beckham had a lot of those moments in the biggest city on earth. Yeah, is New York City the biggest city on earth?
In the U.S.
Attaboy, Diggs. Is Tokyo bigger? I don't know.
I think so.
By
Or
a
like
little bit.
Shanghai.
I don't know, but if you could factor in like the market and everything, then yeah, like the eyes on him, it technically is.
He had to grow up literally in the biggest city on earth, media spectacle-wise. And maybe he learned from it. Maybe he truly did grow from it, and he's using this year as like, hey, you know what I can do on the field. Everybody knows that. Whenever I get the ball once or twice a game, you can see it. But off the field, I've also grown as well. And I'm pumped for him. Good for him, saying he's in a safe space, a good space. Let's assume he's on the Patriots at some point, though. Let's assume that he's going to be a New England Patriot at some point within the next 2 years.
If this matters at all, Tokyo is much bigger than New York.
New York's pretty far down the list, actually.
Yeah.
Really?
There's the 3 biggest cities are all in China.
I think you should count New Jersey as well, though, if we talk New York.
New Jersey, I don't think would like that.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Because I feel like everyone that works in New York lives in New Jersey.
Yeah, but think about New Jersey. Yeah, but they don't count as the citizens of New York. Like that's you're just counting the people. That
You have a valid point.
This is such Chicago.
But New Jersey, they are actually the home of 2 big-time NFL teams. and they don't even get the naming rights. You know, like I think New Jersey has been a bit spiteful towards New York for a while. I believe they call New Yorkers that come to the beach in New Jersey Bennies, which stands for something like they have derogatory terms for people. I don't think we should just lump New Jersey into New York like you're saying there, but I get what you're saying that most of those people on a daily basis commute into the city.
Yeah.
So the city's population on a daily basis is much more than what they're probably stating because that's just who's living there. What's the number one city?
Number 1, Tokyo, Japan, 38 million.
So I've been there, man. Shibuya.
Tokyo Drift.
Hey, when you're in Shibuya, head on a swivel, bro. A lot of humans. That's like their Times Square. Shibuya, and it's in Tokyo Drift, I believe. A guy who's doing some. I don't know how much money that would have cost to rent out. By the way, we were in. There's. Oh my God, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it, and it's going to sound ridiculous. I think there's like. Oh, that was a big number. I think there's like 150 people crossing the street every single time the little walk person.
At least
comes
in Fast and the Furious, it definitely looked like that.
And we were a part of that. And we were doing something. It was me, DeQuell Jackson, Mike Adams, Anthony Costanzo, Chuck Pagano. We were over in Japan. And we were doing something where we were betting each other things, and it was push-ups, like public push-ups. So, like, I bet you 5 public push-ups, something happens. It happens. Okay, you owe me 5. They can come at any time. I can give you as many as I want. So I can say, hey, do 1. Like right now, like if we were walking into a stadium and there was a big long line, I could be like, Todd, you owe me 2. And you got to hit him right there, right? So DeQuell Jackson had Mike Adams hit 2 in the middle of the crosswalk in Shibuya. And that thing is perfectly timed where this herd of humans gets by. And then as soon as the white guy goes off the thing, there's like 45 cars, literally, boom. And we were there 11:30 at night, probably late, and it was the same thing. It was just mills of humans coming by, and then cars immediately. So I think Mike Adams, Pops, who's playing right now in the league right now, he's playing for the Texans, I believe. He owed like 5 or something like that to DeQuell. DeQuell made him do 5. Almost got stampeded and ran over. Like both of those things almost happened. It was. I don't think we respected the urgency that these humans had, both in their cars and walking. It was a tidal wave of humans, and then immediately upon no longer sidewalk, a tidal wave of cars, and Pops is down there banging out 5. It was incredible. Yeah, there it is. Look at this. That's at all times.
That has to be like 300 people.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Oh my God, they're coming from everywhere.
Yeah, and there's a subway right there. So that subway opens up right there. So they're just dumping in and out. And those subways are all on time too. And if you don't get there, that thing will shut right on you. They don't care over there. Japan is one of the most organized, disciplined cities I've ever seen in my entire life. And there's just mills of humans at all times walking around. No trash, no talking, no nothing. No military either, because we wrote their constitution and said you can't have a military. They have a self-defense team. They don't have a military, which I believe has ruffled a few feathers over there on the islands.
Sure.
We may or may not have caught a couple dirty looks because of it. Hey, I did nothing.
Look it up. It's in the Geneva Convention.
Whoa.
I think that's the first time in a long time where that actually plays.
Yeah. completely
Cito has
accurate.
only heard that in movies.
Yeah.
He thought that was like something that Nick was saying wrong.
I thought it was chocolate. Were they holding chocolate
That's
convention?
Godiva.
So Tokyo, Japan's number 1, 38 million?
Yeah, fun fact, they have a larger population in Tokyo than the entire country of Canada.
Whoa, they didn't
Really?
say
And,
that.
and Tokyo is tiny in landmass too.
They're stacked. They come and measure your space and how much money you have for how big of a car you can have for a parking spot. So whenever you see people with a big car, you're like, oh, that big bank right there. That's a big ass bank that person has. And then everybody else is driving around in things that are smaller than smart cars. It's all right, still getting there. Okay, they're using promo code McAfee still for $20 off. Then you see the big cars like, oh, that's promo code Pat. Okay. It's a very interesting place. Everybody was very kind, very disciplined, very nice. But boy, we stuck out over there. Anthony Costanzo looked like Godzilla. They called him Godzilla at a nightclub.
Oh no!
Whoa.
Oh.
What happened?
That was the most culturally insensitive thing I've ever heard.
I just stubbed my
on this
toe.
show.
Especially on this show.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I just stubbed my toe.
Oh, so that was an oh no for the toe stuff?
It was Spanish, yeah. I was speaking Spanish there.
Didn't sound like it.
Wow. You just falling back on being Cuban there very quickly was one of the best things I've
also
ever
widely
heard.
It's actually really cultural, and that you guys just said that I was doing that wrong.
He can't speak Spanish.
It's the old life preserver. Oh, by the way, I know it's radio, but I'm brown.
11:54. About to be 11:55. Nope, it's 10:55. Our clock still doesn't work. You know what? It could be 7:55, by the way. I would have no idea. Days have just all kind of come together at this point. Odell won't crack. He's a new OBJ. Going to be a Patriot. Chase Young, it stinks what happened to him. He's going to be in trouble, though. The money thing, anytime it gets involved, the NCAA. Now, granted, maybe the NCAA turns the tide. This could be the first opportunity for that. I don't know. Gambling, Mike Lombardi likes the Bears, Cowboys, Seattle, and Titans. Take that for what it's worth. We'll be back on the other side. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. We have no clue why.
It's the perfect occasion for mental vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication. 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yes, it is. Chase Rice, I appreciate you for singing that for free for us. He's on tour. If he's in your city, go and check him out. Ready, say, let's roll. Ready, say, let's ride. He's got bangers. It's a good time, too, I believe. Drinks the beers and the jacks on the stage. At Ty Schmidt is here. At Tone Diggs with a Z. At Nick Moraldo, who is our DJ for the day. At Evan Foxy. At Viva Lazito, who... people are starting to attack online for something he said in the first hour.
What do you mean?
You see it. Jason McAfee. And on the phones, 1-833-622-3331. We hope it works. Todd McComas, how are you back there, Todd?
Doing great, Pat.
Do you have your own mute button back there?
I do. I just unclicked it. See how fast I'm getting?
You're like a ninja back there, man. I don't even think I have one of those. That's I'm proud of you back there.
Pretty fancy.
So what are we looking for out of the callers, by the way? If you're going to call in, because it's a feel-good Friday. So what do we want out of you?
Well, first of all, we want energy.
Yes, need energy because most of us in here running on less than 3 hours of sleep, fresh out of our trip home from
Tampa Bay, Florida.
Cool, forgot.
I was going to say Houston.
I almost said Houston, too, and then I almost said Waco. I went from Houston to Waco, and I was like, I don't remember where we were. I feel like one of those old drugged-out rock stars. Love you, Detroit. Cleveland. Energy's number one.
Energy's number one. Brevity, I would say number two. Get right to the point.
Yes.
And then number three, have a good point. Give us something with some legs.
Yeah.
Something to talk about. Throw around the room.
I agree. We don't get to take calls much because we're in the back of a box truck on a regular basis. I enjoy the calls. It's one of my favorite things, getting to hear from humans that listen to the show. Now, granted, Mike Francesa said you can't view them as just viewers and audience members. They want to be a part of the show. They're different than your general audience, so you have to treat them differently. So if you come on here and you stink, like I don't have the ability to hang up on you mostly because our computer doesn't always work and I have to get another microphone and talk to you. But don't stink. I mean, sometimes our show stinks, but let us deal with that. If you're going to come in, come with the heat, come with an energy. 1-833-622-3331. First hour, we got a chance to talk about a lot of things. Chase Young, outstanding defensive end for Ohio State, is currently being investigated by the Ohio State University for an incident that happened in 2018. Chase Young came out with a statement that had 2 spaces after a period, which made me question a lot of things. Foxy, were you taught that?
I actually don't think I was. I was very confused by what you guys meant. I thought you meant like double space when you double space a paper, but you're telling me you guys were taught to put 2 spaces after a period?
Yeah, that was like
For what reason?
Standard.
It's
standard. It's just how you talk.
just good.
Oh, yeah. That's really weird to me. I'd never heard that in my life.
That's why I have so many pauses.
That and your brain stops working. But
Either or. I heard it both ways.
you're proper grammatically. That is what we know you
Thank
for.
you.
Is a proper grammatic human being. But there's Foxy. Okay, so Foxy, how old are you?
25.
Okay, so you're close to this Chase. That's 5 years. I mean, that's definitely a generation, maybe a little bit of a change. But
Right.
Foxy wasn't even learning that you're supposed to 2 spaces after a period. Let's assume that they're not teaching him.
It's also a Michigan State education.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
I went to West Virginia. There's nothing. There's nothing I should say to you. So that raised some eyebrows, but he had to give a statement regardless. And I like that Chase Young, by the way, came out instead of saying nothing, instead of saying we're going to let the details sort themselves out, which a lot of people probably tell him to do. Instead, he comes out with a statement and explains that before his freshman year at Ohio State, a family friend gave him a loan in which he has fully repaid. Now Ohio State's digging into it in hopes that they can find it out, sniff it out, penalize him enough that the NCAA won't start snooping around what's going on in the Ohio State. Now, this is an interesting time, though, because with the players being able to make money off their name and likeness and money eventually coming to players here in the near future, granted, it's still like 3 years away, what will the NCAA standpoint be here on this whole thing? This is the best player in college football by a lot of accounts. This is top 2 pick, top 3 pick in the NFL draft next year. What will the NCAA say whenever they find out that this guy got a loan from a family friend, he's saying, Chase Young has never lied to me, so I'm not assuming he's not going to lie to anybody. Got money from a family friend. He paid back the loan, so no harm, no foul. They're going to look into how he paid back the loan, though, because that's another question as a human student athlete. Student human athlete. Student first, obviously.
Yeah.
Right, of course.
Way before you're being a human, you're a student first. But you have to think that Chase Young, although he loves the Buckeyes and he's having a hell of a season, he definitely saw what Bosa has been doing. He was potentially Rookie of the Year candidate who sat out after 3 games to rehab a groin injury. Now, this is much different than an injury. He could still play. He could still dominate. But if he's going to be suspended for a few weeks, does he stick around and continue to do that and put on for the Buckeyes? Or does he go train for the NFL and say, you know what, I'm going to do just what my brother Bosa did last year. I'm going to dominate my rookie year. This is interesting, and this is intriguing. And for Ohio State and all of the Big Ten, it has 2 teams in the top 4 of college football playoffs. This is quite a earth-shattering announcement. Now, let's assume that Ohio State has other players that we just don't know about yet, that are younger, that haven't gotten their opportunity yet. Let's assume that that's happening. But the best player in college football having to sit out is a big news story going into a massive weekend of college football.
I'm interested to hear your answer here because you've talked both sides. Would you want him to sit out and not go for it anymore? Or since they're the number 1 team in the country, would you want him to play for the national championship if he's allowed to?
Yeah.
I know that's what.
I don't know. I'm happy. I was never anywhere near that position. You know what, Pat? I think you should sit out for the NFL. That never happened. I just want that to be known. So I don't know. I have no idea. There's a lot on the line here. But what if he sits out, doesn't get the training for the NFL, which is a different type of training, by the way. He has to work on 40 time. He has to do all this stuff that they don't do during the season. He has to do a lot of stuff. Now, granted, the Ohio State strength staff, I assume, is a very good one. Bosa left, though, and really turned it up a notch and got himself to become very valuable, which Chase Young has already done. Do you stick around, train, do all this stuff for when you to come back and then you get hurt, right? Like then you got to think about that now. When you're out of the game for a couple of weeks, which it's only 1 game right now. Let's assume the NCAA is going to sniff around and maybe it's going to be a couple more weeks at least. Loans are a big deal. Reggie Bush lost his Heisman because of something like this. I mean, this is something that the NCAA does not like at all. Got a lot of old whites making decisions over there. They do not like it because they got their hands in a cookie jar too. So anytime anybody else is getting some cookies and taking up their cookies, they're going to be upset with it. That's why I've always thought that it's going to be very difficult to change the rules because a lot of people are benefiting off it are the people that are making the rules. So this is going to be interesting with Chase Young. Feel bad for the kid though.
Anytime I see something like this, I always just think of Jalen Smith, too. When he was at Notre Dame,
Yeah.
they played in the national championship. He was supposed to be a top 5 pick. He blew his knee out. He falls down mid-second round, and now it worked out for him. He got a second contract, but there's no guarantee that was going to happen.
A lot of hard days too in rehab.
Yeah.
And now you're walking into a facility that has a lot of legends. So you're not just being treated as if you're an automatic legend, too. You're a rookie again, and you're all by yourself. You're rehabbing, which can be tough. Jalen Smith, incredibly mentally tough person who got a lot of money on the other side, got a real bag, but it's not. Who knows if it's always going to work out like that. I feel bad for Chase Young, though.
I assume that they came out and told his side right away. I assume Ohio State wanted to force his hand on this because instead of letting it sit around for a few weeks and the NCAA and then it gets in and investigates for a few weeks and then the season's done, if you just come out right away and tell them exactly what you did, then they could hand out the punishment earlier than having to wait.
But think about cops, man. You ever watch Live PD? Never watch Live PD?
No.
Oh, so good.
It's a good show. It's in my backyard, too.
It's not
I've been
on
on
USA.
it. I've been on twice. What'd you say?
It's not on USA, so Tony hasn't seen it.
Sure, Diggs big time USA Network watcher. Doesn't watch Chris Lee's. Doesn't watch Monday Night Raw. Doesn't watch Wwe Nxt, which is basically their 3 biggest shows.
What are we talking about?
What are you watching, Tom?
Those are clearly different.
Anyways.
One's a sport.
2 of them. But you're 100% right. And, by the way, incredible drama, comedy, athletics. Those who don't like professional wrestling, I think, are in the wrong. You just got to have an open mind. Go in there. It's a male reality show. Go in there with an open mind. And that's why I also enjoy Chris Lee Knows Best because Todd, lightning rod of a man. Anyways,
I think it's a work.
Live PD. So in Live PD, you think this will work for Chase Young. But for Live PD, they pull somebody over. The first move is we'll tell them we did something wrong, but not to the extent we did something wrong.
Yeah.
How you doing? Yeah, I might be a little high. Smoking a little weed today. And you're like, okay, if we check this car, is there going to be anything else? I mean, you might find some weed, honestly. I mean, I've done it. Then they open a car up. There's like 45 needles in there, heroin crack. And every single time they're like, why did you do it? Well, I thought you just, you believe me. It's like the NCAA operates as if they are cops. I mean, that's what the NCAA does, especially whenever they get into investigating somebody. Even if you say, you just took a loan, paid them back, no big deal. The NCAA is going to be like, oh, bet. You know what I mean? The NCAA is going to be like, well, we're going to find out. And once they get their claws in, I mean, they just go, too. Because they ain't got a damn thing else to do. I mean, what do they got to do? They got to set up leagues. They have an entire department for that. You check out the NCAA thing here, downtown Indianapolis. It is a big building. They got a lot of people in there. And they love like the sanctity of the game. Like student human athletes is a big deal. We are turning, right? We are turning as a society here. But man, that is still a couple of years out. Getting a loan is, if we look at the history of NCAA and college athletics, this is going to be a pretty big deal, especially when it's with the best player in football.
If he paid that loan back, it theoretically would have to just be from like his stipend from the NCAA, right? Because you can't have another job or anything like that.
Then the loan must have been pretty small. Because your stipend from the NCAA is to pay rent and food and
exactly.
stuff. You're not getting like...
That's what I was thinking. There'd be no way if it was like a bigger loan that he would be able to pay it off with that stipend.
Now, granted, maybe he did what I did. Late night, saw a commercial. It's my money. I want it now. Got a few $1,000s out in loans, like to the tune of $40,000 at like a 65% interest rate that he got in his bank account the next day just so he could party. Maybe he did what I did. And is going to have to pay that back whenever he gets. Maybe that's what he did. Maybe he took out a loan from a bank, which, by the way, why is a loan from a bank okay, but a loan from a friend is not? This is big institutions.
Yep, there it is.
Feeding big institutions. What if WVU gets cracked out because I took out $40,000 in loans at a 65% rate from something? Kind of like.
From J.G. Wentworth?
877 cash now. I don't think it was J.G. Wentworth. There was another one. But it was basically that same type of thing. Big banks getting involved.
I think he took out a loan from a friend that no one would have ever found out about, and now I think he's in a great position, and I think he goes, like Diggs said, and says, hey, guys, I took out a loan.
You think Chase Young self-reported this?
Yeah, because then he doesn't face any backlash from
Ohio
not being able to
State
play anymore.
has never done anything bad ever, especially under Urban Meyer or anything like that. So it's probably
they don't want investigation, especially first-year head coach.
Yeah,
like you do not want to be investigated by the NCAA that early, just because they'll find something. It's like anytime somebody looks at your phone, right, like goes through your phone, they're gonna find something, even if it's just like a message that you wrote to your friends. Like there'll be something. They're gonna find something. That's just what's gonna happen. That's the world we live in. Cops, you watch on live PD, they're going to find something. It's just, you could accidentally have an empty beer can in your car in the back that you didn't even know was there because your drunk uncle sat back there and left it there. And you're like, oh, open container, here we go. There is a drop of alcohol in here. Oh, now you're driving with an open container. Wow, here we go. You're facing 2 months in jail. It's like, wait a minute. That's what the NCAA can do, too. The NCAA can dig in and be like, oh, you texted this kid in this month? This was a quiet time. Can't do that. That's a violation. And then they just start stacking up on top of each other. Like boom, 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 boom. Or is the NCAA a new operation, a new organization?
Doubtful.
highly.
It's a very old dog to be teaching a very new trick. That said trick that the old dog has hated its entire life. Hated. Absolutely hated that trick. It's like, well, now you got to give into it.
Think about it, though. Now if he can't play, he's the good guy. Because it's not like he's choosing to sit out. Oh, I want to play. The NCAA won't let me.
Good spin. Maybe it's the person that put two spaces after the period and was like, listen, here's the angle. Here's what we're doing. I don't know, Chase Young. Let's assume he likes football, though.
Yeah.
Well, and I think he's on pace to have like a historical season in the Big Ten, like could potentially break like the all-time sack record.
Is he going to be able to do that sitting out one game? If he is, by the way, even more so to lead to Nick's point. If this guy's going to break records by missing games, I mean, he's incredible. He's the best football player maybe to ever step foot on Big Ten field.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to make a lot of money. I know that.
Yeah.
That loan is going to be a funny little anecdote.
He's going to be in Cincinnati for a long time.
Yeah, he is.
Whoa. You think the Browns aren't going to go with a quarterback? Or the Bengals aren't going to go with a quarterback?
Well, Chase Young sitting there.
Then who's going to play quarterback?
Ryan Finley.
All right, let's get to it. 11:15 here on this Friday, November 8th. I was told that when I went through all the time zones. Is this Jason McAfee?
This is a new J-Mac joint.
Let's let this rock.
Brand new.
Here, Jay. Who's that? Jay's on the phone? Who is that? Marcus Colston's on the line?
Yeah.
All right, we'll get him on the other side. Hey, good for us. Did we know he was coming on the show? We got Marquise Colston on the other side?
I guess.
Jay, nice beat here, by the way. A recent Gallup survey shows Americans worry more about burglary. Whoa. Hey, that took quite a little turn there out of nowhere, didn't it? It's a J-Mac beat. Hey, go and move your feet. Hey, go and bob your head. It's not there. A recent Gallup survey shows Americans worry more about burglary than any other crime. Now's the time, more than mugging and terrorism, more than car theft, and even freaking murder. According to studies, just over 10% of break-ins are planned beforehand, man. Beforehand. Jeez. Listen, 90% of break-ins are crimes of opportunity. They are random. And people are worrying about this type of thing more than murder and car theft. It happens mostly between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., and the burglaries are usually worth and cost people over $2,000. That's a lot of cash to bounce back from. And fun fact of this whole thing is only 1 in 5 homes have home security. With all these stats, you would think more than 1 in 5 homes would want to look after their things. Well, it's probably because home security for far too long was too expensive. Too big of a hassle, too intrusive, too terrible, too this, too that. That's why SimpliSafe transformed home security by breaking down the barriers to get you the best, most reliable, and comprehensive protection available. SimpliSafe protects every door, window, and room with 24/7 professional monitoring. Their police dispatch is up to 3.5 times faster because they use video verification. There's no contract, hidden fees, or fine print. It's designed to blend right into your home. No wires, no drilling. It's easy to order, easy to set up, and it's usually under an hour. It's won a ton of awards, from CNET to the New York Times wire cutter.
Nothing to sneeze at.
Prices are always fair and honest. Around-the-clock monitoring is just $15 a month. $15 a month for security and comfort, all in a convenient fashion from your friends at SimpliSafe. Visit simplisafe.com/Pat. You'll get free shipping and a 60-day risk-free trial. You've got nothing to lose. That's simplisafe.com/PAT. simplisafe.com/PAT. We'll be back on the other side with Marquise Colston. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. It's 12/23, Friday, November 8th, 2019. We just got a phone call from a man who some would say is the most underrated wide receiver in NFL history. Undrafted out of Hofstra. Went on to be a Super Bowl champ, Pro Bowler, you name it, all of that. Now he's an entrepreneurial legend as a retired player. Has a percentage ownership of Main Squeeze, which is a greens and juicing company that's taking over the world. He has a percentage ownership of the Arena Football League. He launched an executive education program at Columbia for retired athletes to dominate business world. A man who's doing just that. Won a Super Bowl in a game that I lost the Super Bowl. Ladies and gentlemen, former New Orleans Saint, Marcus Colston.
I appreciate you. I don't know how I'm going to live up to that intro, man, but I appreciate you guys.
I think you've already done that just by the way you're living your life. I think more people should know about it. I had no idea that you were this entrepreneurial genius until we just started looking into you. Did you always know you were going to get into the business world? And what have you taken from the NFL that you've applied to the business world that you've seen success with?
No, it's interesting. I started about halfway through my career, jumped into a pro football operation, like an indoor football operation in my hometown. And I spent my off seasons literally running an organization from sponsorship, marketing, ticket sales, every facet of the organization. And that's kind of when I caught the bug. And really, I've leveraged everything that made me a good player. You know, in football, I've leveraged every single piece of that mindset, you know, in the business, whether it be, you know, leadership and you know, the want to master a craft, you know, those teamwork and leadership aspects and you know, just continue to learn along the way. And it's been a really, really fun journey so far.
I could fathom. I mean, and then you're also trying to give back by the executive education program with Columbia. Good dude. Let's talk football now, in specific, the New Orleans Saints. Who that? Who that? Who that say they go beat them Saints? Not a lot of people can say that, especially with Drew Brees getting hurt. What have you seen from the Saints team that makes you go, wow, Sean Payton has a big brain and this football team is a very well-rounded one?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, your certain quarterback goes down and you go undefeated, you know, in that time frame. I think, you know, this is probably one of the years that Sean has been challenged more than ever as a head coach, and he's kind of stepped up to the plate in a major way. And the way they built that roster, the defense is dominant at this point. You know, the offense is always going to be there. Yeah, I mean, it's a scary looking team coming down the stretch.
I listed off 7 potential MVP candidates yesterday, and I left out Mike Thomas. And boy, who that nation came after me. Do you see a world where a wide receiver could win the MVP? And what has Mike Thomas done that makes all of the Saints fans be like, hey, this guy is the truth?
I mean, he's dominated every single game this season. You know, if you look at the numbers, I think he's on pace to set, you know, the all-time receptions record of 143, which is ridiculous. And I think it may happen because it's a year where there's so many quarterbacks that have gone down. And yeah, I mean, this may be the year that the receiver has a real shot. And I think the year that he's putting together, the team is winning. I mean, this would be the year of any for it to happen.
I want to apologize to every New Orleans Saints fan for not putting him on there yesterday. That's on me. I just didn't know enough. I gave all the credit to Sean Payton, which, by the way, probably should go that way, even though Mike Thomas has dominated every game. It's not easy to do as a wide receiver, especially with shifted coverages and everything like that. Sean Payton, though, what was he like to play for? I don't think a lot of the people really know what it's like inside the building with Sean Payton. This is a guy who has quietly been very, very, very successful. But in the world of coach talk, you always talk about Belichick. You always talk about maybe McVay and these younger groups, Shanahan. Sean Payton has just been consistently great for a long time. You never really hear about what it's like behind closed doors with him. What type of coach is Sean Payton?
I mean, he's a guy that he played the game, so he's got I think a more unique understanding than a lot of other coaches. You know, he's got a fiery side. He's going to tear that juicy fruit up on the sideline every day. But you know, he's a really, really good coach to play for. I mean, he understands offensively what he wants to do and how he wants to fit you into the puzzle that he's putting together. Defensively, he really understands where weaknesses are and how to exploit matchups. And, ultimately, he wants to win, and he's going to put his team in the best possible position to win. And, as a player, what more could you want?
Yeah, nothing. And by the way, if your coach has confidence not only in you but in himself, that radiates through the entire locker room. Sean Payton definitely has that. Speaking of a guy that can radiate an entire locker room, this guy is known for giving motivational speeches before the game. 1, for me. 2, for you. 3 for something. I don't think I remember the rest of it. But whenever he speaks, people listen, and he's also very good. He has almost all the records at this point. He's about to get even more as the season progresses. Just a guy from Texas, went to Purdue, and has become an absolute superstar at quarterback. Tell us about Drew Brees a little bit and what's something we don't know about him.
What more can I tell you about Drew? I mean, he's the classic underdog in most people's eyes, but I mean, that dude has been a superstar for a long time. Like I don't know where the underdog piece comes from. He's been successful everywhere he's gone, but ultimately he's a dude that he can play both sides of the fence. I mean, he can absolutely be the face of your franchise. Be that corporate face, but he's got a mentality and a grit about him that, he relates to guys, I think, more than most other quarterbacks that have done and accomplished the things that he's accomplished. He's got enough of a grit and, just kind of this everyman nature about him that, I mean, you want to play for him, man. You run through walls and you run into safeties on seam routes for him just because, he's going to bring it every day and you got to match his intensity.
I didn't even think about that. Potentially receivers tapping out whenever they don't have faith in a guy on a route that is potentially a very dangerous one across the middle. I didn't even think about that, Marcus.
Yeah, most people don't.
Think about Drew Brees, though. He's also a good businessman. He owns a Jimmy John's down there. Was his involvement in business and in a franchise what got you involved with Main Squeeze, or were you before him, and were you the one leading Drew Brees into these business ventures?
No, I mean Drew's been in business for a while. He's got a ton of successful ventures. I mean you've been in the locker room and the talk isn't what people perceive it to be at times. I mean we guys talk about business and they talk about opportunities off the field in the locker room, and when you got people, you got smart, good people that are doing good things, that tends to permeate through the locker room too. So he's absolutely been influential among some other guys, and hopefully I was able to influence people the same way in the locker room. And more than most, and you've done a hell of a job building this version 2.0. I mean the show stops at some point. You got to figure out what's next.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. I can't wait to go and try out your executive education program at Columbia to learn more and be more successful. This Main Squeeze franchise, I think I kind of get it. Why did you get involved with it? It does feel as if society is turning into a much more healthier one, a green one. Was that the mindset behind getting involved there?
Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely part of the mindset, and especially in Louisiana, it's not known for its prowess as a health leader. But no, I mean the opportunity to get into that industry, get into a situation where you're not only providing customers with an easy option to be healthy, but you're also providing small business owners with the opportunity to be entrepreneurial with franchises. That was a major part for me. I had always wanted to get into franchising, and I'd never really found the opportunity I could sink my teeth into. But these guys, when I got a chance to meet them, knowing that they're Louisiana-based, it was one that it's really cool to be able to see some of our franchisees that are Saints fans, and be able to give something back to them, outside of the entertainment that we provided on Sundays. I mean, it's a really cool feeling.
I thought about getting into the franchising business one time. I was going to buy a Dairy Queen. I bought a professional wrestling ring instead. Probably a poor decision, Mr. Colston. Probably a poor decision. The Arena Football League, you have stake in a few of the teams over there. The XFL is launching. A lot of other leagues have failed. The Arena League still survives, and it's something that I'll catch myself watching every once in a while on ESPN. It's an exciting game. What do you think the XFL needs to do if it wants to succeed like the Arena Football League has succeeded as a guy who has ran teams from all levels in this professional football world?
It's interesting. The Arena Football League and a lot of these other niche sports leagues, they're not only competing against like the incumbents, the NFL, the NBA, and all those other sports platforms, but they're competing against Hulu and they're competing against Netflix and all these other movie theaters, all these other entertainment venues, and it's been fun to see how these leagues kind of differentiate themselves. And I think the XFL, with their experience in bringing entertainment in pro wrestling, is going to be huge. So they know how to do that part of it really well, and I think the learning experiences from the first go round, there's absolutely a void, in professional football. And, with the Arena Football League, I actually ended up selling my interest before last season and kind of getting out of that business. But I still think there's a really, really massive opportunity for another league to exist and, be complementary, not, competitive with the NFL.
That's on me. I hope somebody updates your Wikipedia stats. Congrats on the sale. Hey.
It's supposed to be trustworthy source.
You're breaking news now.
Did you get to meet John Bon Jovi?
No, I didn't get that chance, man. He was out before I got in, so they swapped John out for me, and I don't know if I lived up to it, but damn sure can't play a guitar like him.
Well, he doesn't have a Super Bowl ring either, which you stole from us. How does that thing look? Do you have a case for it? I always wonder what people do with their Super Bowl rings. That's a real question.
About as boring as you get, man. It's probably collecting dust in my safe. I've put it on my finger maybe 2 or 3 times, but I'm just I can't see many scenarios where I wear it out because I'm not much of a conversationalist, and that's a conversation starter.
I disagree. I think you're a very good conversator. We've just had like a 15-minute conversation here that's been pretty damn good. I think you should give yourself more credit. And I've been intrigued by it because I have bowl rings, but they're not a national champion ring. I have an AFC championship ring, but it's not a Super Bowl championship. And I couldn't even find a time where I would want to put that on because if you put it on, people think you're flexing. And if you don't wear it, people think you're wasting it. It's really like one of those things where you have one. The title of being a Super Bowl champion means a lot more, I think, than the actual jewelry that you could sell to the Pawn Stars guy in like 20 years if everything comes crashing.
Hey, man, you got a good point with that one, man. No, the title will forever be with you. It does feel like flexing, but at some point I got to do me, right? I got to do what I want to do with my ring.
Hell yeah, you should wear it out sometimes. You earned that thing because not only were you the most underrated wide receiver in NFL history, you were a very successful one both on the field and off the field. Very thankful that you called, ladies and gentlemen. Super Bowl champion, Marcus Colston. Thank you, Marcus.
I appreciate you guys, man. Have a good one. Have a good weekend.
Hey. Did he hang up?
Sure sounds like it.
Yeah. I was
Not sure.
Hey.
Is this public knowledge how much it costs to buy a franchise of this main squeeze?
Yes, it is public knowledge.
How much
check out. Go ahead.
How much does it cost?
The franchise fee is $35,000, and then the average franchise is about $250,000 to $400,000. It's on our website. You check out mainsqueezejuicecode.com.
Maybe I don't buy the ring this time. Maybe I get into the juice game. Hey, thank you so much, Marcus. Congrats on everything, man.
Man. Thank you, man.
All right, that's real. I did look into the Dairy Queen. You did. I was deep into it. I was sending things, asking. I even met with a guy that was a McDonald's franchise guy because you never see McDonald's go out of order. Out of order.
Only their ice cream machines.
Only their ice cream machines. I was real heavy into the franchise game there for a little bit. I decided to buy dumb things instead.
It happens.
Could have bought a Bitcoin too, by the way. People forget about that early in the game.
I didn't forget.
That's going to come crashing down at some point.
Yeah, but it's not right now.
It's on its way up.
I think I could have cashed out right now, and this all would have been over. 12:38. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Financial decisions aplenty. Welcome back to the McAfee Show. It is Friday, November 8th, 2019. Couple quick things we got to get to before we hit the phone lines.
Kanye West wants to change his name to Christian Genius Billionaire Kanye West.
Love it. Love it. He said he's going to run for president in 2024.
Rolls right off the tongue.
Kanye West, gospel singer, comes around full circle. What's his name, Zito? Rolls right off the tongue?
Kanye, multi-billionaire. West.
Yeah.
He's not letting his kids watch TV anymore or anything like that.
No makeup,
No makeup.
Oh, that makes sense.
which is
He's
interesting
back.
because
They're like
his
2 years old.
wife's sister runs like $1 billion makeup company. But
You think Kris Jenner's about done with it with Kanye?
Oh, yeah.
You think she's like him? Another child? Kanye, though, is a special human that has graced this planet. He's had ups, he's had downs, he's had bangers, he's had complete.
Come on.
He has. He's rep Chicago. He's been hated by Chicago. He's been loved by the rap world. He's been hated by the rap world. Taylor Swift hated him. Taylor Swift likes him. Kanye West is what we like to call an enigma. And if he changes his name to
Christian Genius Billionaire Kanye West.
I want to go by my middle name, though. I love it. I mean, just keep it up, Kanye, man. He's got to exist for a reason. This is just like Eminem. Like, I can't believe Eminem has stayed away. He came back, stirred the pot, and then disappeared again. Like, these are just what these humans do. Kanye just changes the world one decision at a time. He'll have a free concert, then he'll have a concert he won't show up to, then he'll make a gospel album, then he'll make an album that he won't release. I mean, this is just a thing that these elite brains, we just got to let them do their thing, and we should just be happy that they exist. But by the way, election season's coming around. Eminem is primed for a comeback. Let's go ahead and make sure we jot that down in the old prediction world. Eminem is going to come back next year, and something big is going to happen. That guy, he might come out. By the way, just because of what Eminem is, whatever everybody is kind of for, he's coming out against. Mm-hmm. So if the tide starts to turn, just know that Eminem is not scared to go neckton against the grain. And I'm here for it, by the way. I am here for these elite brains doing whatever the hell they want to do to change it.
This Kanye quote came out the other day, and I enjoyed it. See if you'd like it.
Yeah.
There are only 4 elements: earth, wind, fire, and water. Therefore, playing with your iPhone is the same as playing with dirt. We are God's iPhones.
Makes a lot of sense whenever you're a Christian Genius billionaire. I like it. Okay, shout out to Kanye. Anything else?
Will Smith vlogged his colonoscopy, so you guys could all crawl further up his ass.
All right. We're done with notable news from Nick. By the way, if we're going to crawl up any ass, I'm happy it's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Zito, quote and fun fact for the day.
Yes, I'll start with the quote, Pat. If today were the last day of your life, would you want to do what you are about to do today?
Great question.
Yep.
Great quote from Steve Jobs. Zito.
Yep, Steve Jobs. Zito.
And Zito's fun fact before we get to the phones.
Fun fact today was
Forgets it.
the inventor of the Frisbee was turned into a Frisbee after he died. Back to you, Pat.
Just sounds like a fake fact. Earlier today, you also had the kangaroos can't walk backwards.
yeah.
Kangaroos can't walk forwards either, though. They hop. Imagine if you rolled into some zoo and you just saw this kangaroo just one foot in front of the other. Hell of a week. Let's get to the phones. We got about 8 minutes, so let's hope these are good. Because if not, we've had a good week of shows. We need not the phones to bring us down going into the greatest weekend in the history of weekends.
well said.
Oh, boy. Things are crashing. I have to use a different microphone because my microphone doesn't connect to the phones, although everybody else's microphone connects to the phone.
Correct.
Let's go to Christian Diner in Pittsburgh, which we will be next week for the University of Pittsburgh versus
North Carolina.
North Carolina, probably in front of 200, 300 people in high school. Steelers play the same night. I mean, no offense to the Pitt fans who don't often show up in abundance because the stadium is away from campus.
They're busy studying.
They're too smart, all that stuff, whatever. Good team this year, will be fun to call. But the Steelers are playing on Thursday night against the Browns, and the Browns look like they're potentially going to get smashed by the Steelers with a backup quarterback. This is Yinzer paradise. Ain't nobody watching this Panther game.
It's also going to be about 10 degrees.
Christian, what do you got?
Hey, guys, I want to talk Steelers offense. I was at the game on Sunday, and Rudolph had a ton of chances to get the ball to wide open guys across the middle. But, of course, he went to the check down. Do you think it's coaching? And if so, when are they going to open up the playbook since we're only one win from the playoffs?
I respect that question a lot, especially because you were there, so you get a chance to see the players that you don't always see on TV. The thing about Mason Rudolph is, and Lombardi said this, he doesn't really feel things well. It takes him a little bit to get settled. So making that big-time, risky throw, even if the guy seems to be open in the NFL, if a guy looks open, he might not be because the NFL disguises coverages and guys can run 4.2s in the back end. So Mason's probably a little bit gun-shy. But I'll tell you what, whenever Tommy John attacks your quarterback in a league that it's not supposed to show up in and you still have the ability to win and play games, that's good for the Yinzers. That's good for the Steelers. Happy for them. But that's the Ravens division if you have any brain at all over there in Pittsburgh.
Duck ain't checking it down, I'll tell you that much.
Hey, Duck will huck now, won't he?
They will.
Duck gives no lucks.
Quack, 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 quack.
Quack, 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 quack. Duck Hodges is the backup quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has a roommate that is not a Pittsburgh Steeler because he had to move into an apartment very quickly because he thought he was going to be a world champion duck caller again. Instead, he ended up making the Pittsburgh Steelers football team out of nowhere. He's undefeated as a starter in the NFL. Shout out Duck Hodges. Great podcast, by the way. Pat McAfee Show 2.0. Find the one with the Duck Hodges. Good conversation and an elite duck call to wrap that thing up. Quack, 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 quack. Joe in Manhattan, Kansas.
Oh.
Bullet traffic going. Thanks for taking my call. First and foremost, Pat, thank you for burying Kansas State against OU a couple weeks back. We came back, made you grow. Appreciate it. And second of all, is there any chance Mahomes can get back into the MVP conversation if he comes out and just starts slinging the rock?
Joe, I love your energy, by the way. I did kind of motivate the hell out of Kansas State, I believe. Everybody and their mama thought Oklahoma was going to win that game. I just decided to go the hardest out of everybody. Kansas State gets a big win. Shout out to them. Wildcats, I believe is their name. Purple school. Good for them. I went to a purple high school. I know it's difficult to have that, to overcome not only that, but a potentially bad football team to get a massive win over Oklahoma. Now they're springboarded into the top 15 or top 17, I think. Good for Kansas State. Happy for you, cuz. Now with Patrick Mahomes, 1,000% there's a chance if he comes and plays well, he's going to be right back in the MVP conversation. He's the face of the NFL. That's why when he got injured, it was such a big deal. Now, granted, Matt Moore came in and won some games. This is like when Tom Brady got hurt and Matt Castle came in and won some games. Do you give credit to Andy Reid or do you give credit to Matt Moore? I don't know. I just know that if Pat Mahomes continues to do his highlight style of play, highlight reel play, and he's on every single commercial that Baker Mayfield isn't on, he's even on the commercials that Aaron Rodgers is on. If he plays good, he's thrusted right back into the MVP conversation, especially because the Chiefs have so many weapons, their defense is getting hot, and they're going to be a good team and a contender down the stretch, which is what you have to be, Detroit Lions fans, whenever I'm talking about MVP candidates. Yes, I understand Matt Stafford has had an incredible year, an incredible career, but when you don't win, it's a little bit tough to have you in those big-time conversations.
I agree. Honorable mention.
Kind of like the Lions. They didn't deserve that. They've been so close, man. I like Matt Patricia a lot.
This is what they do, though.
I think you're 1 year out.
Yeah.
1 year. Next year.
My entire life, 1 year out.
This guy's name is Homer. I love that. Homer, what's going on in Carrollton, Ohio?
Cuzzy, big Cowboys fan, bigger fan of you and the boys, though. I was just wondering, you're not going to have the Cowboys in your top 10 power rankings yesterday's podcast, and knowing that they move the needle and Lombardi comes on and says he's taking them over the Vikings, who you did have in your top 10.
I didn't have a top 10. Excuse me. That was SportsCenter's top 10. I was just reacting. I have not ranked teams yet. I think it's too early. We don't know what's going to happen. What if Freddie Kitchens wakes up and knows how to draw plays for that entire offense? What if Lamar Jackson takes a big hit? Easy, Nick. What if Lamar Jackson takes a big hit? What if Tom Brady or Bill Belichick just decide not to play football anymore? There's too much football to be had to give a list of power rankings of teams until about week 12, I think, week 13. So for me, I didn't do that. That was just the SportsCenter rankings, but I respect the fact that you hate their rankings. I will relay the message to them stat. Sound good, Homer?
Appreciate it, cuz.
All right, have a good one, brother.
I also got people at Jets.
Hey, way to go, Cowboys talking there, though.
Hey, thank you, Homer. You are like Homer.
Cuban Homer.
Yeah, Cuban Homer.
That's a shirt. Put it out
Yep.
there. Yeah. Buy that shirt for 20% off this afternoon whenever we create it. Cuban Homer, Zito Perez from Chicago. Zito Facts, Zito Quote Board.
Thank you.
David from Fayetteville, Tennessee. What's going on?
What's going on, Pat?
Hey, just hanging out.
Oh, my.
Oh, boy. Did he just fall?
Is he okay?
I fell and I can't get up.
Is David okay? By the way, Life Alert, good product.
Great product.
Good product. I'm thinking about getting it because I'm so tired of all that hotel bed. David, I think he had something good too, man. He had good accent too. The Tennessee draw is a good one.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Rest in
Yeah, he
peace
got
to
hit by a
David.
bus or something.
Dope.
What if he was at Buffalo Wild Wings?
Oh, no.
Tom in Somerset, New Jersey.
Yep.
It's your turn.
Tom, what's going on, bub?
Hey, what's going on? I'm at work and I gotta take a big poo, so I'm gonna make it real quick for you. I'm a big Raider fan on the East Coast. Big Raider fan on the East Coast. They kept me up screaming so much last night that my Apple Watch recommended I go see a doctor. But with how they're doing now, how does that make the Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper trade look for John Gruden, considering Mack is not really performing as well as he should this year?
That boy, Tom. Good luck with the grumpy cuz. By the way, big win for the Raiders last night. We led off the show with that. I'm assuming Tom didn't hear that. It's a 2-hour show. Can't expect people to listen every minute. Big win for the Raiders. John Gruden looked very happy afterwards. They got a win against the Bears, too. That was big for Gruden. I mean, Khalil Mack is a game changer. Imagine their team with Khalil Mack is the thought that you should have. But I like that the Raiders are getting hot. They got 2 bad teams coming up in the next 2 weeks. 40 seconds left. Let's go to Brian in Roselle Park, New Jersey. What up, cuz?
Pat, listen, buddy, your hammer's been a little cold. You tell me to take the Chargers, I take the Chargers. You tell me to take the Colts, I take the Colts. Pat, I need one lock for this Sunday.
I got you, Brian. The metaphoric hammer was swung yesterday, so it doesn't count. The Colts did backfire on me. I would hammer the Buffalo Bills at the Cleveland Browns this weekend. I'm not sure they figured out their problems. It's been a hell of a week. That was also the first game on the list. It's been a hell of a week. We can't thank you enough for listening to us wherever you may be around the globe or listening on your radio. You're the absolute best. Have the best weekend of your life. This has been the Pat McAfee Show.
Say Dawn.